Scholars, this presentation is part of a series on developing college and career-ready IEPs and is titled PLAAFP Statements that Support Development of Ambitious and Achievable IEP Goals. The IEP is what makes special education special. The IEP levels the playing field by providing strategies and supports to assist students in achieving their academic and functional goals. To develop an IEP, a multidisciplinary team collaborates by following a 5-step cyclical process depicted in the schematic on this slide. The focus of this presentation is on identifying student needs, specifically developing a PLAAFP statement to tell the students' present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. To develop a meaningful IEP, team members collaborate to establish an understanding of grade level standards and expectations, and then identify how the student's disability affects academic achievement and functional performance so that they can set ambitious, achievable IEP goals. The process begins at step 1, in which IEP teams use quantitative and qualitative information about the student's skill and behavior at the time of IEP development. This information, the what, serves as the basis for discussion in step 2. A legally defensible college and career-ready IEP begins with a comprehensive evaluation and thorough understanding of the student's needs and interests. Assessment should employ multiple methods of data collection, that is, records review, interview, observation, and testing. Evaluation should be multidisciplinary, that is, not based solely on information from one person or one test score. What does the PLAAFP do? First, the PLAAFP describes the student's current skills or behaviors by using concrete verbs. For example, names, writes, lists, circles, or reads aloud, instead of identifies. In the PLAAFP, team members state how the student performs compared to expectations in the general curriculum and compared to same-age peers, including peers with similar cultural and linguistic backgrounds. Describe the priority skill sets selected for their capacity to narrow the gap between the current and expected performance levels. The data presented in the PLAAFP ultimately drives the team's analysis of how the student's disability affects access, engagement, and progress in the general curriculum. To generate a robust PLAAFP, think RIOT. Each letter in the word RIOT stands for a data collection method: records review, interview, observation, and testing. It is imperative that we use multiple methods of data collection in order to summarize the student's current levels of academic achievement and functional performance in a way that answers the question, what is the student doing now? Data that are presented in the PLAAFP should be recent, within 3 to 4 months of the IEP meeting. These recent data can include statements that interpret any or all of the following: a team member's records review, that is, review of a completed work sample, attendance record, log of nurse visits, etc. Classroom observation data, for example, an on-task, off-task analysis that uses momentary time sampling procedures to evaluate a student's engagement during whole group instruction by allowing comparisons to a target peer's performance. Qualitative themes that emerge from interviews with various stakeholders, for example, guardians, related service providers, general education teachers, and/or the students themselves, about the students' skills, strengths, and needs. Finally, scores from norm-referenced or criterion-referenced testing. Begin by naming strengths. Summarize the student's response to learning strategies, accommodations, interventions, standards-based instruction. Ask IEP team members, what have we learned about this student's strengths? After stating student strengths, specify needs. Focus on needs that affect access, engagement, and progress in the general education curriculum. Ask IEP team members, what prerequisite skills or knowledge does the student need in order to accelerate progress from his, her, or their present level toward the grade level content standards? When you write out responses to the question, what prerequisite skills or knowledge does the student need in order to accelerate progress from their present level toward the grade level content standards, include these components: A, B, C, D. A, behavior. Make sure that the behavior is written to convey a countable, repeatable action. Use a concrete verb. C, condition. Specify or describe the circumstance or context in which the countable action will occur. And D, the dimension by which the behavior can be measured, described in terms of frequency, rate, latency, duration, accuracy, magnitude or level of independence, or trials to criterion. You've just learned that there are 3 important pieces to include in your description of the student's current performance. Name conditions under which specific skills or behaviors are used, and specify the dimensions of the behavior, for example, frequency, latency, duration, accuracy, magnitude, trials to criterion, or some combination of these. An example that includes all 3 parts is, according to his performance on curriculum-based measures using grade 2 probes, Bob reads aloud at a slow pace, making miscues with single-syllable words that use long vowel patterns. He's accurate in decoding regularly patterned CVC words in isolation and in connected text. His average oral reading rate is 28 words correct per minute. His target score is 113 words correct per minute. Label the behavior, condition, and dimension. Let's do some practice with important parts of a PLAAFP, stating a behavior, condition, and dimension. Strong examples of PLAAFPs: name observable, measurable behavior. Observable and measurable behavior refers to behaviors that we can count, see, hear, or repeat. Example 1. Initiate a task analysis step within 5 seconds and complete it within 15 seconds. Is this observable and measurable? Example 2. Write a 6-word sentence with correct grammar and spelling. Is this observable and measurable? Example 3. Participant who will be standing 6 feet from the item will locate the item and select it by grasping, touching, or pointing to the item within 30 seconds of the task direction. Is this observable and measurable? Now it's your turn. Try a behavior sort. Sort the behaviors A through E on measurability. A, identify the multisyllabic words in the passage. B, demonstrate word analysis skills. C, read aloud a 100-word passage. D, recognize affixes and root words. E, write a response to literal comprehension questions. In addition to naming observable, measurable behavior and skills in the PLAAFP, We also need to specify the conditions under which the behavior occurs. It's your turn to match the condition to the behavior. Often, statements use a construction like, given X, student will Y, where X refers to a condition and Y refers to an observable and measurable behavior performed at a set criterion. Match the condition lettered A through D to the behavior plus criterion numbered 1 through 4. So far, we've practiced with the B and C, the behavior and the condition. Now it's time to practice further with dimensions of behavior. 6 categories represent the dimensions of behavior: count, frequency, rate, duration, latency, trials to criterion, and magnitude. Count, or frequency, is how many times a behavior occurs. If the number of opportunities are constant across trials, then use the number to record the count. If the number of opportunities changes across trials, then record the count using a percentage. Behavior should have a clear onset and offset. For example, number of words written, or number of steps taken independently. Rate refers to the frequency per unit of time. For example, number of words read correct per minute. Duration is the length of time it takes to complete a response, or the total amount of time that a response occurs. For example, length of time spent putting a puzzle together. Latency is how long from some specified cue it takes for a response to occur. For example, length of time to respond to a WH question. Trials to criterion is a measure of the number of responses or practice opportunities needed for a person to achieve a pre-established level of accuracy or proficiency. This is derived from count, frequency, latency, or duration, and used to assess skill acquisition or used to evaluate the efficiency of an intervention. Magnitude is the intensity or strength of a response. For example, the speed of a pitch, how far one kicks a ball, volume when speaking, self-injury trauma scale scores. Now it's your turn. Select a label to tell what dimension is referred to in the behavioral definition provided. Example 1, initiate a task analysis step within 5 seconds and complete it within 15 seconds. Can you select both dimensions of behavior? This has 2 dimensions. One is latency for initiating, and the other is duration for time it takes to complete the step. Example 2, write a 6-word sentence with correct grammar and spelling. Can you label the dimension or dimensions? This is narrowly a count behavior. Yes, they wrote a 6-word syntactically correct sentence with accurate spelling. Once, twice, 3 times. However, we can evaluate on the dimension of magnitude using a rubric to tell the degree to which the student used grammar and spelling in writing the 6-word sentence. Example 3, participant who will be standing 6 feet from the item will locate the item and select it by grasping, touching, or pointing to the item within 30 seconds of the task direction. Can you select the dimension? Nice work. Length of time to respond is latency. We have learned that legally defensible, present level of academic achievement and functional performance statements that fit within college career-ready IEPs name the student's strengths and needs, but also convey the current level of performance with academic skills and functional behaviors in ways that convey a condition, a dimension of behavior, and a observable, measurable behavior. Check out these PLAAFP statement examples and determine whether a revision is necessary to adequately convey a behavior, condition, and degree. Chad is a 5th grade non-binary student who uses they, them pronouns. Chad is eligible for special education services under the category of specific learning disability. One set of sentences from Chad's PLAAFP statement reads, Chad adds, subtracts, multiplies, and divides numbers written as fractions or decimals with 65% accuracy. They learn best when using manipulatives. They have difficulty applying basic computational skills using fractions or decimals in real-life situations. Sample 2. Jay is a 3rd grade male student who uses he, him, his pronouns. Jay is eligible for special education services under significant developmental delay. Information from Jay's PLAAFP states WJ3, Woodcock-Johnson 3, scores reading 5.0, written language 3.4. Jay's reading continues to improve, writing needs work. Sample 3, Matthew is a 7th grade student, uses he, him pronouns, and is eligible for special education services under the emotional behavior disorder category. Matthew's PLAAFP reads, during unstructured sessions, for example, past periods, Matthew invades others' personal space. He uses attention-seeking behaviors too frequently and doesn't initiate steps to problem-solve social snafus in given situations. Sample 4. Timothy is a 6th grade male student who receives special education services under the other health impairment eligibility. PLAAFP statements read, to promote academic success, Timothy should receive visual considerations. The final sample is Susan, a 9th grade female. Susan has autism. She needs practice with social communication, reading comprehension, and And now you've tried revising some PLAAFP statements so that you can clearly communicate strengths, needs, specific behaviors, conditions under which those behaviors occur, and dimensions by which we can measure behavior. Now we will use a case example to carry out step 2 of the 5-step IEP process. In step 1, we reported on the what to give information about present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. In step 2, we will identify how the disability affects access, engagement, and progress in the general curriculum so that we can conduct a root cause analysis. To understand the why, the analysis will allow us to summarize the disability-related needs so that we can develop an individualized plan to address the effects of the disability. Meet Bob. Bob is a male student who uses he, him, his pronouns in grade 4. Bob receives special education services under the specific learning disability eligibility category, with IEP goals in the area of reading. To summarize academic achievement in reading, the PLAAFP from Bob's most recent IEP contains the following statements. Data from standardized measures of reading achievement, NWEA map, show that Bob consistently scores below the 10th percentile. Bob's map scores are commensurate with about 10% of same-age test takers. According to his performance on curriculum-based measures using grade 2 probes, Bob reads aloud at a slow pace, making miscues with single-syllable words that use long vowel patterns. He's accurate in decoding regularly patterned CVC words in isolation and in connected text. Bob achieves an average rate of 28 words correct per minute, which is below his target score of 113. Bob reports that he uses the skip it strategy when he comes to a word he does not know and states that he does not like reading. These statements corroborate the general education teacher's observations and anecdotal records that document Bob's difficulty with reading and determining meaning from multisyllabic words that appear in on-grade level text. Bob's IEP team used information in the PLAAFP statement and recent special education eligibility reports to conduct a root cause analysis. The team began their analysis with a focus on the concerning behavior, getting frustrated when required to read independently. The team used their understanding of Bob's current performance to qualify this by sharing that he can access and comprehend text when it is read aloud or when he uses text-to-speech technology. But they wanted to understand more about his frustration, so they asked, why? The team used their data to hypothesize that Bob becomes frustrated because he has trouble gaining meaning from on-grade level text when reading independently. They determined that they needed to drill down further to understand the root cause of Bob's difficulties with accessing and engaging and making progress with the task of reading on-grade level text. So they asked why a second time. Bob's difficulty with extracting meaning from on-grade level text was attributed to insufficient reading fluency. The team decided they needed to understand more about the root cause behind his reading fluency, so they dug deeper into their data and included perspectives of the special education teacher and the reading specialist who completed extensive training in the teaching of reading. This led to the logical inference that Bob's difficulty with decoding affected reading fluency, which in turn made it hard to gain meaning from text read independently, which in turn made reading a frustrating task for Bob. To truly understand how to support Bob's access, engagement, and progress in reading, they investigated further by asking, why is Bob having difficulty with decoding? From their root cause analysis, the IEP team determined that Bob needs to improve phonics and word recognition skills so that he can develop and use strategies that will allow him to better access text and reduce frustration. If Bob develops phonics and word recognition skills, then there's a high likelihood that his reading fluency and comprehension will improve, and he will make accelerated progress toward meeting grade level standards. However, because Bob's reading challenges are causing behavior concerns, the IEP team has decided it's also important for him to develop and use strategies so that frustration can be managed, which can allow him to gain information from text and better access curriculum content in classroom instruction. To summarize, the IEP team identified root causes by asking why 5 times in order to summarize 3 disability-related needs. 1, improve decoding skills through explicit instruction focused on phonics and word analysis skills. 2, develop and use self-management strategies to cope with frustration. And 3, build motivation to engage in reading activities and independently access grade level text. If these needs are addressed, then Bob will be better able to independently access grade level reading materials and gain meaning from the text. We learned about steps 1 and 2 of the IEP process. Next time, we will focus on step 3, developing meaningful and measurable annual goals.